experience in the education system?
I am a licensed clinical social worker. I worked in a charter school in Hoboken from 1999 to 2003. And before that, in 1997 or 98, I did some consulting work for a company providing counseling to kids in the Union City public school system.
I'm a teacher for 15 years, special ed and regular ed. I have a master's in special ed and a learning disability teacher consultant certificate.
I've been in education for approximately 20 years. I started as a teacher in Colorado and then moved to New Jersey, and I taught here for 5 years and then have been the Dean of Student Life at a school for 9 or 10 years.
I teach mathematics at St. Anthony High School here in Jersey City. It's a parochial school, and I teach levels from grades 9 through 12, pre-algebra, algebra 2, trigonometry, and I'm in my 5th year of teaching.
Can you discuss the diversity and economic background you see in your students?
You know, Hoboken's a tale of two cities, the have and the have-nots. So in the charter school that I worked in, there were kids of means and there were lower income kids coming from low income project housing and, you know, that sort of thing. And then in Union City, it's a lot of kids of color, different racial backgrounds, economic backgrounds. I really didn't know them as well as the kids in Hoboken because I went in and provided counseling just around their behavior in the school. But they were lots of first-generation immigrants, I think.
We have students who come who are from very wealthy families, very privileged families, and then we have students whose families really struggle to allow them to go to the school and make a lot of sacrifices to let them go to the school. So we have a very, very wide range. We have a lot of financial aid for students, so that allows students from pretty impoverished backgrounds to be able to come to the school.
The profile of the school, basically we're catering to inner city kids. We're a school whose mission is to provide a very viable option for the students of Jersey City. So the background is not necessarily so diverse because it's an inner city urban environment.
How do you see economic background affecting students' education experiences?
When you have resources or means, and you are able to provide culture, art, exposure to various other things to supplement their education, it obviously establishes a stronger foundation.
I teach kindergarten right now, so I have kids that are below the poverty line and kids that live in very own brownstones and live in the T building. They're being read to, they go to museums, they are exposed to a lot more than my kids that are below the poverty line, live in the projects, and for the most part, and have a different look on school and life and aren't exposed to as many things.
Everything ranging from students who have access to computers versus kids who don't. We have a lot of students who have iPads and fancy computers that they can work, they can do work on the train coming to school and leaving school, and then we have students who have nothing. They don't have a phone, they don't have an iPod, they've got no technology to use to help them in that way. We always have kids who need tutoring in certain subject areas to help them feel more prepared for the classes. And we have kids who can afford to have tutoring and kids who can't. And if you can't get a chemistry tutor and you're lost in chemistry, you're going to be at really a disadvantage compared to the kid who, has a tutor at home. And same with SAT prep stuff. We have students who can go to all the fancy SAT prep classes or have private tutors at home and people helping them work on their college essays. And then we've got kids who don't have the opportunity to do any of that, and they really do the whole college process, SAT process all on their own. And I think that really is one of the biggest divides once you get to the college admissions process, is the kids who have help in preparing for that and the kids who don't. And I think that really separates kids out right there.
Working in special education, do you see any correlation between economic background and learning disabilities?
There is, definitely, because even though some kids can qualify for special ed if they have families that work with them and provide resources to them and get them extra help, not even outside of school, we see a huge difference. But we see kids that just, they come to school and nobody helps them otherwise. Either they don't know, or they don't have the money, or they don't care. Those kids are just kind of stuck in the cycle.
I was a social worker at Hoboken Charter School. I worked there during the 9/11 attacks, and I was sitting in my office, and a high school student came to me to ask me to go and look out the window with her because an airplane had just flown into the first tower. And so I really wasn't sure what was going on, but we walked upstairs and we looked out the window, and while we were talking, the second plane flew into the tower. And I said to her, and she, we were both sort of speechless, and she said she had hoped that nobody was hurt, and I told her that, people had died. And then I realized I was talking to my homeless student who had nobody to go home to. So that in itself, when a student doesn't have backup for just books and supplies and music lessons, and when you have a home to go home to, what do you do?